So I got a comment on my channel by a guy called Brian Cooper, and he was asking about using the Headrush looper board as a backing track machine. Now, although the Headrush looper board has backing track facilities and they're really good, he didn't want to use the looper board for anything else other than backing tracks. So this is a £700 looper, and Brian just wanted to use it just for backing tracks and didn't want to use the loop facilities at all. I very quickly told him that's the wrong product for you. But this comment got me thinking, and I did recommend something else for him, which I want to show you today. Yep, you've guessed it, it's the RC-5. So today we're going to have a look at making this not a looper, but a backing track machine. And after we've set this up as a backing track machine, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks at the end just to take it to the next level. Let's go. Hi, you join us at the desk. So we've got the RC-5 here. I've plugged the mains in and I've got a USB-B cable going into the computer. And what we need to do is we just need to plug a jack in. That is still the on-off switch. So let's plug a jack in now and then that should boot up. And I'm going to leave that there. What we need to do now is we need to get some software. We need to get the RC-5 Tone Studio. We're going to get that from the internet. So we're on the Boss website right now and we just go over to downloads. When we go to downloads, you'll see there it's available for Windows and Mac OS, and it's Tone Studio for RC, and you've got to have the right one to make sure it talks to it. Currently, while filming this is on version 1.2. So all you do is click that and it'll download. So as you can see, I've booted up the Boss Tone Studio for RC, and when you do this and there is a RC5 or RC500 or whatever connected, it will say editor connected or connecting on this display of the Boss. But what you can also see at the top here is disconnect, so you know it's connected. Then on a Mac, it shows as a hard drive on your desktop. So of course we can disconnect, we can import, we can export, and of course about. So on Tone Studio itself, there are a collection of things that you can download from Boss, and they're designed to be looped, and they're rhythms and backings and things like that. But what we want to do is take a track we've created ourselves and we want to put it into the looper. So I'm going to click import, and I've brought up our file system just so I don't get into trouble with copyright or anyone else's songs. I'm using my own, and this is my album called Walking Home that I brought out, and I've got the bounces here that are the original tracks. Now these aren't backings, these are the full tracks, but I could turn them into backings. I could make backing track versions of them. So let's go into audio files, and there they are. There's 14 tracks all in WAV, and it must be a .wav format. Now the only thing is you can't import MP3, so if you need to convert it from MP3 to WAV, obviously you need to do that. So there's 14 tracks here. One of them has got a small version, it's like a 30-second version, but I'm going to use this one, which is Around This Town. It's one of my tracks, and I click open. It then says importing and where do you want it to go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pick track 1 and click import. It's now importing it, and it's just pushing that over to the RC-5. Now this can take a little bit of time depending on the size of your file, so obviously please be patient while it says importing and just let it do its job. Now once it's finished, it just disappears and it brings you back to the main screen. So if you want to check it's in there, what I would suggest you do is go to export, and it just shows you there it is, track 1, Around This Town. Now if I select it, I can hit play and it starts playing straight away. I can stop it and then I can just delete it. It's really simple, and then I can export that out if it was a track that I made on the looper and want to bring it out to the computer. So once we've done that, I can repeat this process. So I'm just going to click import again and bring in a couple more tracks. Okay, so I've imported 5 tracks from the album, and just to show you, I'm going to click export. And there they are. So we've got track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I say this is from my album called Walking Home. If you want to check that album out, it's available on all major streaming sites. So now we've got the 5 tracks on there. I'm going to disconnect this from the computer, and then I'm going to show you how we can play it. Okay, so we've disconnected from the computer. We've put the RC-5 back on the floor. Let me show you some tips that you can get the best out of it being a backing track machine. So the RC-5 has these 5 tracks in now, so we can scroll across. I have renamed them myself. It doesn't actually save the name unless you put it on the computer. If you've forgotten to do that, which I did on track 5 deliberately. So it just says memory number 5. We can change the name. We just go into memory, scroll across to name, all the way at the end. There's name, click it, and you can change the name. Now, if you've made your own backing tracks with your own songs and you've made it through your digital audio workstation and you're playing them live and you're using this as a backing track machine, that's quite cool. But if you want to get your tracks out there in the world, then have a look at our sponsor, which is DistroKid. DistroKid is a one-stop solution to get all your songs out there in the world for one price per year. And they push your songs out to all the online streaming sites and digital stores around the world. Now there's a link that's on the screen now, and you can click that link that's in the description box below, and that will give you 7% off your first annual membership with DistroKid. So how much is it to release as many songs as you want in 1 year? Well, the base plan is $19.99. If you want a little bit more control of things like the release date, you can go up to the Musicians Plus, which is $35, and there's even a label version that's $80. And you're going to get 7% off that first annual membership. DistroKid have a couple of cool things like cool promo cards, and they generate a one-page website for your latest release. And they have just announced this month a brand new feature, which is for spatial audio. Apple Music has now got lossless and spatial audio, and of course a couple of other streaming sites do lossless audio as well. And with that feature ticked, they can push that version out to those streaming sites, so your listeners can get the best quality of your audio ever. You keep 100% of your royalties, it's your music, and with DistroKid being a distribution company, they can get all the money that's been made from your music and hand it straight to you. So thank you very much to DistroKid for sponsoring this video all about backing tracks, but have a look at the link and start distributing your music today. Now, a couple of extra tips. So the first thing to bear in mind is the volume. Obviously the volume of your backing track versus if you've got a guitar or microphone plugged in into the looper, or if you're using the looper purely as a backing track machine, then you want to set the volume to make sure it's A, consistent track to track, and B, it doesn't blow out your speakers if it's too loud. Let me show you how to do that. So to adjust the volume, all we need to do is click on the dial on the track that you've got selected. The loop level, or the volume level of the track, goes from 0 to 200. So we can change this over. So I've got this set at 50 at the moment. And then when you're happy with that, we press setup and memory together to write it to the track. It is per track, so you need to do that. It's not a system-wide thing. So let's press that. It asks if we're going to write. We say yes. Where we're going to write it to, we're going to write it to Around This Town, which is track number 1. And then it executes it. Now, if we click that, we can see that's on 50. If we go to the next one and we click it, we can see that's on 90. And then if we go back to track 1 again, we can see that's on 50. So what I would advise is just make sure you've got the track level set and it's consistent throughout, because you don't want a sudden dip in your backing tracks. Now the main element of the looper is that it's a looper. We don't actually want it to be a looper. We want it to play the track once and then stop. This is called one shot on the Boss RC-5, and I'm going to show you how to get to that right now. Just remember you have to do this per memory, as the RC-5 does not assume that you want to do this with all 99 memories. So the RC-5 by default is set to obviously be a looper, and of course record and overdub and then stop and clear and play as well. And we're going to change that. There's two things we're going to do with one thing. We want it to play the loop once, which is our backing track once, so it plays and then stops. And the other thing as well, by changing this over, it stops things like overdubs. For example, if I press play now, it plays the track. If I press again, it then goes into overdub mode. You see it goes yellow, and I have to double tap this to stop it. So we're going to change all this, and we're going to go into memory. Remember, this is per memory, so you're going to have to change this for each one. But we go into memory and we go into loop, click it, and as reverse, we go across one to one shot, and we turn one shot on. So when we press the pedal, it's going to play the track. And then if you press it again, it's going to play the track again from the very beginning. It's just going to skip right to the beginning. We don't want it to do that. We just want it to be play and stop. So we've got one stop, which is great. So it will end, it won't loop. But we want to change the pedal so it doesn't replay in case you press it by mistake. Let me show you how we do that by changing it over to track play stop. So as you can see right now, if I press this, it starts the track. If I press it again, it'll just keep playing it. And I still have to double tap to stop the track. I want to make that easier. So we're going to go into setup and we're going to go over to control. When we click it, the pedal function is on this. And what we want to do is we want to change the pedal function so it literally is just on play and stop. So now when we press play, and with one pedal, I can just stop it straight away. It then becomes a player. It's just a lot easier to control. One button to play and one button to stop. Now my last little tip is about changing the memories going from track to track. You can obviously bend down and just literally use the dial and click it and go track to track. But if you want it to be completely hands-free, this is where something like this kicks in. So we can use the FS6 or the FS7, or if you've got your own 2-pedal extender, then what we can do is we can use this for memory up and memory down. So we've got our FS7 plugged in here, and it's plugged in to the A and B section, which is this one, which controls both buttons. So to change this over, we're going to go into setup, we're going to go across one to control, and then we click it, and then pedal function is this one, the actual pedal itself. And then all we do is go across one, and we're going to change this. Now for whatever reason, control 1 is this one, which is B on the FS7, and control 2 is A. So control 1, what we need to do is I want that to be memory decline. So down is the bottom one, so decline. And then control 2, I'm going to scroll that across so it's memory increase. So now what I can do is I can use these to go up and down the different tracks, which is really, really quick and easy. Now, some of the tips and tricks I've shown you today can be used for looping as well as just backing track. For example, one shot, you might just want it to play once in a chorus and then stop. A quick shout out to Brian Cooper. Thank you very much for bringing this to my attention. You've made me make a video out of it. And if you want to see how you can actually use the RC-5 and RC-500 with MIDI, have a look at this video. Thank you very much for watching, folks. Thank you, Brian, and we'll see you on the next one.